So this week you're going to hear a lot about consumer and experience, but I really want to start today by talking about the why. And so first I want to start with just a quick story. Has anybody heard of Noom.com? So I recently, getting in my upper 30s, I was like, okay, I need to lose a couple of pounds. So I found Noom Coach, which is the app that they offer that's, a diet, weight loss, kind of a health thing. So I got into this app, and the first thing that it really does is it starts to take you through a series of questions to identify your why. And it started talking about, first of all, why do you want to know what the ultimate why is? And part of it was, originally I might have thought, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, and that's my why. But then when I really started going down the path, I realized it's actually not my why. The why is more that I just want to be the best version of myself and be healthier overall. So that kind of changed, just knowing what that ultimate why was, that changed the journey of how I was going to actually get there. So I really wanted to just kind of point that out first, because that's something that at Crocs we continually try to ask ourselves, from the consumer's lens, what is their why, and then what is our why, and then how do you kind of merge those two together? So the challenge overall on Crocs.com was really just stagnant and flat sales year over year. So if you see 2013 to 2015, $50 million business, it was humming along, but it wasn't really growing, which was completely opposite of what the market was doing at the time. A couple of the things that we had as issues were out of stocks. So in some of our top products, we would be broken in sizes, and we just wouldn't have the colors that the consumers were looking for. We were targeting the wrong consumer. So if you see here, I have an example of a boat shoe that we had about 4 or 5 years ago. And from this example, it's kind of like, okay, we're targeting a man when 80% of our consumers we know are women. We're also talking about a feel-good summer story. What does that actually mean? Are we talking about the features and benefits of the product? Are we actually talking about why it's comfortable? So I just wanted to use that example to kind of, that we were definitely targeting the wrong consumer, and in some cases, maybe not a consumer at all. We were talking to ourselves. So we kind of tackled this from 3 different viewpoints. So the first one was the org structure. And this is the piece where, org structures can be a little boring, but in this case, it was a game changer for how we went about merchandising Crocs.com. Then we created a go-to-market strategy. So it was really focused around product storytelling, personalization, and then creating a never out of stock program, which as a merchant, and I've been a merchant my entire career, like never out of stock program is like, well, duh, but it was something that they weren't doing on Crocs.com. And then the process, so just putting together a cross-functional go-to-market team. And we heard in the previous sessions about sometimes you can get over-processed and it actually makes things a little bit slower. We'll kind of talk through how actually creating this robust process for us makes us able to be more nimble in the moment. So this was the old org structure. So on the left side, we had a traditional direct-to-consumer merchandising team. So the buyers and planners reported up into this structure, and they bought for both retail and e-commerce. I'm sure most of you, if you've worked at brands, this is kind of, there's some brands that are still like that today, but more and more I think that people are starting to move to, okay, e-commerce needs to be its own thing. Because then if you have more retail and e-commerce together, e-commerce almost is an afterthought. It's okay, I'm going to spend 90% of my time on the brick and mortar stores and what that assortment is, and I'll spend 10% of my time on the e-com portion. And a lot of times you don't actually maximize what you could have for the assortment because you say, okay, I'm going to buy everything that I buy for the store and I'll add on 5 or 6 styles for e-com, when really you could have 100 styles extra on e-com because you have the endless aisle. So the new structure we went to was taking out the D2C structure and really having retail plan just retail, and e-com have specific buyers that are doing e-com only, and they both report up into the P&L lead for both of those channels. Now we will talk a little bit about interdepartmental, how this kind of works, because this does present challenges. Where is e-commerce not speaking to retail? And then is there a different experience that the consumer has when they're going into your store versus when they're online? So the go-to-market strategy, so really identifying the who, what, and the why. And again, I want to emphasize the why here. So we started to look at, okay, what stories do we actually want to tell, and why is this relevant to the actual consumers? We identified our key items and created a never out of stock program, which again, this seems so simple, but it's something we didn't have. So really taking the top 25 products and making sure that we never go out of stock of those products in key sizes on the site. We focused on collections versus items. I'm sure everyone knows what the original Crocs style is, our classic clog, which if you haven't seen what I'm wearing today, I'm actually wearing our platform clogs that will come out this fall. That was just a little plug for Crocs, you know. So really, I mean, we still focus on our item, the classic clog, because obviously it's our icon, but really started to put together ideas around collections and who those collections were targeted to and what was the why of why someone would want to buy these collections. And then personalization, and I will say we have only scratched the surface on personalization. There's so many things in the next 2 years that we have on our roadmap of things we want to start doing. But really the first step that we took was just started segmenting out, okay, we have a women's audience, we have a men's audience, we have a kids audience. And then our Crocs at Work, which is the last example you'll see here, we actually have a really high engagement on our work styles, specifically on crocs.com, where we don't get that same kind of engagement in a retail store. So segmenting out that audience and creating assets directly for them makes a huge difference. So this is the same campaign. It's an Easter fill your basket 25% off, but the first one is a women's focus where it's focused more around stylish products. Then we have a kids focus that's more about active and play. And then there's the Crocs at Work. So we see much higher engagement in these campaigns, both through email and social, when we actually do the personalized concepts. So going into next year, we definitely want to be playing more with audiences and creating, I mean, you could have 80 different audiences and have different campaigns fire off at different times just based on what does that consumer want to see at that exact moment. And then lastly, it's the storytelling piece for the go-to-market. So this is an example of our Light Ride collection, which we just launched about a month ago. And this just shows you the difference of how we're telling stories versus that first example that I showed you. So really featuring the product features and benefits. So you'll see here we're talking about 40% softer, 25% lighter. We're including product videos as part of this so that we can tell the consumer, why do you want to purchase this product? What benefit are you going to get from this? And then we utilize reviews in UGC. So on the right side, you'll see some of the UGC that we use. Most of this right here is from influencers. So influencers that we seed our shoes to, and then they provide us back with content. We also use our own consumers' UGC, and they can upload that directly to our site. We've been doing it for about 3 years now, but we really just started incorporating it into marketing campaigns probably in the last year and a half. We see huge engagement when it comes to UGC because then it's the consumer selling to the consumer, and it's a more authentic experience to see another person wearing this product and talking about why it's so great. And then lastly, we just included reviews. So there's not an example here, but in some of our emails, we'll do reviews of why this product is so awesome. And again, it's consumer to consumer. And then the process. So I'm definitely not going to take you through this entire thing. But basically, I wanted to show you this just to kind of, show where we were when we first started this is we didn't really have a process. It was, okay, inventory just showed up of this shoe. We're going to put an email together and we send it in 2 or 3 days, and that's the campaign. So this now maps out, we're about 8 weeks out from when we actually kick off a project, from when it actually launches on the site. And the reason that we do 8 weeks is because that gives us the time that we need to do different iterations. So we're kicking off with the creative brief, but then we're doing several rounds of creative reviews to make sure that this is the concept that we're trying to build, and are we targeting the right consumer? Are we showing the right products? Are the products in stock? All of those things that you have to do before a campaign goes live. But what this does is this allows us, and I'll give you an example, to be more flexible when you're in the moment. So this past Black Friday, we had a doorbuster that went out of stock pretty early on in the I call it season. It's not really Black Friday week, Cyber Week. To me, it's a season because it seems to last forever. But I think it was by Saturday, the day after Black Friday, we basically were broken on every single size of this doorbuster, which this is a big deal considering that one style drove about 30 to 40% of the total sales for that time period. So what we did was we actually partnered with the DC because we had more inventory coming in to be able to get it live back on Monday, so Cyber Monday. But we were able to quickly put together, and this was over a weekend. So the team was actually pulling all of this together over the weekend to be able to run an email campaign on Monday and Tuesday for anyone who had come, looked at that product and wasn't able to buy it, they didn't actually add it to their cart, sending them an email saying this is back in stock. And so there's things like that because we have this robust process that we're able to kind of chase and do these additional things. Same thing where if we're in season and a promotion doesn't perform the way that we anticipated it to, we can quickly add something in to get back those sales, and nothing actually gets left behind or nothing gets pushed out because we have enough time to be able to do those things. So the results, which is, the whole point. So we've had consistent revenue growth, and I have on here 10%. It's been anywhere from 10 to 20%. So we've seen huge growth in the last 2 years just based on some of these things that we've done around targeting the right consumer, personalizing the experience, having a never out of stock program. Our traffic has been up 20% year over year. We've seen conversion up 10% year over year. And then our engagement in email and social specifically have been up around 20 to 40%. So we've seen some really good, and this wasn't the only thing that drove these metrics, but it was something that definitely contributed. And I want to just walk you through, here's an example of a collection that we launched today on Crocs.com. It's a collaboration with Drew Barrymore, which she is one of the celebrities in our Come As You Are campaign. So really celebrating moms and daughters and having this story around, it's a Mother's Day theme, it's a collection of product that Drew designed. So this is just an example of how we are telling these stories and making it relevant to that consumer versus what I showed you on the first slide. So again, the key takeaways, a dedicated merchandising team for e-commerce. You absolutely have to have buyers and planners who are within the channel that are solely focused on e-commerce. The go-to-market plan that includes cross-channel alignment between merchandising and marketing. Again, this isn't as easy, it's a sentence up there. It seems so easy, but it's actually been a really big challenge to integrate those two teams, where a merchant is not just doing buying and planning. A merchant is also thinking with a marketing mind. And then you bring the marketing people in and you're collaborating on what those stories are gonna be. And you're honestly writing creative briefs and doing that entire process together. It can't be separate anymore because they don't work. You don't tell the same story. Storytelling for each collection, and then personalizing the experience through your different marketing channels. And again, like I said, we've barely even scratched the surface here. I'd love to come back in like 2 years and show you all the things that we're doing because we have so many things that are really cool. But that's pretty much it.
All right, let's pop up on these chairs. I have so many, I know.
This is a high
Don't
chair
look at her
for
get
a
on
short
that tall chair.
person.
Okay, so I love this story, and I think there's a couple things I want to ask you, and then of course open it up to you. We just have 10 minutes for Q&A. But the biggest challenge I think in a business is how do you spark that conversation that even allows you to unsilo the business, you know, where the executives have no fear and they're allowing you to come together. Can you share a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I think part of it was making both teams, so if you're looking specifically between merchandising and marketing, it's really making both teams part of the process. So it can't be something that just comes from the top of like, okay, you guys are gonna merge and you're gonna start doing these things together. It's really talking about how do we create a go-to-market process that has a cadence of meetings where you're actually collaborating, and let each group kind of give feedback into what that process should be. I found that anytime that you make each group part of that process and make them, they actually contribute to it, they're much more bought in. And that's kind of what we did. You know, it wasn't something that just came down from the head of e-commerce of like, we have to do this. It's something that we all kind of came together and said, what's gonna work for both groups that's gonna be great for the consumer in the end.
That's awesome. And then another thing I heard is, do we not have merchandisers specifically for e-commerce? Have we sort of been throwing our retail merchandiser over there and saying, do that too?
That's how we were set up in the beginning. Now it's completely separate, and it was taking someone who had done retail and even done wholesale, and someone was me, putting them in e-commerce. So yeah, I came to e-commerce and didn't know anything about digital. So I think it is hard in a merchandising world to find people who have done just digital. Most people have done a combination of retail, brick and mortar, possibly even wholesale, and then e-com has always been kind of a side thing. So it's definitely from a talent perspective as far as finding people, I think it's a little bit harder to find people, but I think the more and more companies that separate those out and have e-commerce specific merchants, it's gonna be pretty prevalent.
Okay, so yes.
So that to me just runs, having e-com on one side and brick and mortar here, and
Yep.
then you have your wholesale channel as well.
Yes.
And the consumer really says, I want Crocs, and really shops all over the place, and we know the path to purchase is insane.
Yep.
Right? And there's many different ways you can get there. But one thing is, like, if you're looking, e-com is as much a discovery tool as it is a purchase tool.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And so if you're discovering online and you're not finding it in the store, like it seems to me that you're kind of creating conflict by not having the two work together, even though you would never expect brick and mortar to have as large an assortment as online they possibly have.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to putting the consumer and the experience first. We definitely struggle with that at Crocs because our retail team is actually in a different office than our e-com team is. So it's really coming down to talking on a constant basis of what we're doing. You know, right now we run different promotions. So e-commerce will have one promotion, but retail will have another. But we honor either one. So if the consumer goes into a retail store and says, oh, well, this was 30% off on the e-commerce site today, they'll give them the discount. Something that we have not invested in that we're looking into now is we used to have iPads in the store where if there was something that they came in and they couldn't find and it was on the .com site that they're able to order it. Right now I think the associates help them do that on their phone. So they're able to just pull up the website and do the order with them right there. But it's a challenge. I mean, it's definitely something that we haven't mastered, and we keep looking to see how do you make that experience seamless across both of those channels. And the same thing with wholesale. I mean, if you walk into a wholesale partner right now, the experience that you have could be quite different than what you would have in one of our own stores.
Do you have a mobile app?
We do not. Our purchases, or our consumers come about maybe one time a year. So for us as a brand, it doesn't make sense. But as we start to look at customization and personalization and all of that, there could be an opportunity to do something like that that's more of an interactive, okay, I'm gonna make my own shoe. And I'm gonna put the different, I mean, I have gibbets in my shoe right now, and you can choose.
Like you do.
Yeah, I mean, you can make your own, design. And so there could be an app where you could do that and make it a fun, interactive thing.
All right, I have a question. When you talk about collections, I honestly wouldn't have thought Crocs and there's a collection to buy from. Like, that's a great idea, and it seemed impactful as you see it up there. How did that idea come into play?
That actually came, we hired our chief merchant about 3 years ago now. And that was one of her first kind of ahas when she came in was, okay, we have a lot of items, and we do have a lot of volume driving items, but how do you start to package things together so that the consumer then starts to recognize a collection? So we've built, we have a collection called Isabella and Swiftwater, which now are some of our highly searched terms. Like, the consumer is starting to catch on of what these things are, and they kind of tie back to wearing occasions. So the Isabella is more of a stylish product, or the Swiftwater is more of an outdoor and active play. So you have people now that know those names, and they come back looking for what's the new style that's going to be in this collection.
Rose, what question do you have?
I'm curious. So merchandising tends to be such a artful storytelling place to be. And now with the oodles of data that you're able to grab from e-commerce,
Yep.
how have you approached taking insights out of that data and being able to share it across the company to help with some of the information and decisions? Because I would imagine there's a lot of rich things you're able to see having worked in both camps.
Yeah. Again, we are just scratching the surface on this. We're launching our DMP. We just launched it, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And so we're going to be using all of the data from that to create audiences. And right now, what we're really using it for is to really do our media buys. So making sure, first of all, that we're going to take out employees. Like, we're not going to market to our own employees. So that's one of the first kind of cost savings that we've seen through that. But the opportunity is limitless. I mean, we can definitely take all of that data and feed it back to product so that we can start building products based on the data that we have of what we know our consumers want. So we're going to use it in merchandising, marketing, product, kind of across the board. But again, we haven't gotten there. We're still in the beginning phases of it.
All right, back in the corner.
I had a related question. It sounds like your storytelling, you are now more focused on features and benefits, which I would assume is more of a rational decision-making process versus emotional or aspirational storytelling. What were the insights that led you to that change?
Well, we do both. It depends on what collection it is. So like the Drew campaign that I just showed you, that's more of an emotional connection. And so I think with every product collection that we design, we kind of brief that in from the very beginning. We want to focus on the emotional aspect of this collection versus features and benefits of another. Because we are a brand that, you either love us or hate us. And so we know that, and we can market to, okay, people love our, classic clog, but they also want something that's really comfortable, which was what the Light Ride collection was. So it's really kind of on a per collection basis that we make those calls. But we're definitely doing both.
Bill.
Hi. I was interested in your kind of the byplay between marketing and the team that you talked about. Has there been any thought, or do you anticipate where the marketing would actually be part of the team organizationally?
So
Has that been considered?
the way that we're structured, we do have a digital marketing team that sits within e-commerce. And so they are focused on Crocs.com and the US site and really driving the traffic and conversion there. And then we have a global marketing team that is much more focused on brand. And they're managing a lot of the media buys that are at the brand level for like our brand campaign. But there's definitely overlap between those two teams. And we've just started trying to work more cross-functionally. I mean, we have a social team in e-commerce that's doing our paid social, and we also have our own organic social that's being managed on the brand side. So that's something that we've started just having like cross-functional discussions and meetings, and I think that the big thing is really just making everyone included and making them feel part of building that process. Really gets the buy-in, and once we start working together, we see huge upside. Even just with our social channel, we've seen just much more engagement when we actually talk to one another. Like, oh, you're going to post this over here? Okay, that makes sense. We're going to do this over here, and it seems so simple, but it's something that wasn't happening before.
Well, on that note, what would you say, unsiloing those two departments, what was the biggest challenge of doing that?
I think it's more on the people side. People want to own their own thing, and I think sometimes that's, again, why I talk about making them part of that process, because if they think that it's just something that's been pushed down and they're not part of it, then they feel like something's being taken away. So really making all of the teams come together and collaborate on what we want this to be, then they feel like, okay, now we're just one social team, and it's not a brand side and a Crocs.com side. So I think that's...
Well, so looking at the reverse, what do you think the biggest surprise or delight from making this change has been?
The amount of ideas, because just including everyone, even from people who weren't normally maybe in ideating campaigns, now that you've kind of pulled them in and made them part of that process, there's so many ideas that we literally keep a log of all of them. We can't get to all of them at once, but it's just been the additional ideas.
Does that create sort of a riding of the brakes, though, where you're kind of like, okay, ideas can slow down, or are you funneling them, or
ideas?
You don't want to deter that behavior, but then you're like, okay, everyone has an idea. Okay, awesome.
My philosophy is ideas never should slow down. You have to prioritize, so we have things go through a prioritization funnel, and we're looking at everything, from an ROI standpoint, and, some things may not have a return, but there's something that you should do. So it's just prioritizing things, but definitely never putting the brakes on ideas. I definitely want everyone to continue to.
That's great. Yes.
So you had given an example where you were able to turn on a dime, basically, with your email campaign on Black Friday.
Yep.
And yet it looked, by the visual, like it took 8 weeks for your marketing campaign. And doesn't that teach you something where marketing could be a piece of your marketing budget and strategy could be so much more 2 to 3 weeks out, right? As opposed, does it one-off event.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So when we see something, we have things in the 8-week process, but that doesn't mean that if something's in week 3 and I see something happen in the business today, that I can't go change it. So it lets me be flexible throughout the entire 8 weeks. We don't have a ton of things like Black Friday where we do it literally within a day or two and have it turn around. But we are constantly looking at the data that we're having coming in based on engagement and just revenue overall to make changes throughout that process. We are creating our calendar about 6 to 9 months out, and that's something that, again, constantly changes based on the data that we're getting and seeing.
Can you share one thing you're excited about that you're going to be doing?
The personalization.
Okay.
I mean, we launched the DMP. We're so excited to start creating audiences and being able to target to specific consumers, and that's probably the biggest unlock that we'll see next year.
That's great. Bill, did you have another question?
Yeah, I think I'm hearing that you're no longer seasonal planners. Am I right?
Well, on a .com business, I mean, we kind of have, even though we have sandals and clogs that are more opened up, it's a year-round thing. So it's not, we don't, at least in the e-com world, we don't really look at things as seasonal.
So that's a vestige of the previous millennium.
Yeah, I mean, we still tell seasonal campaigns. We'll launch new fall styles. We always do something around holiday. But as far as the actual buying and planning, it's kind of seasonless.
Do we have time for one more? I think, did you have a question over? Oh, I thought your hand. You were just maybe. Yes, Marta.
It's about personalization. I was thinking about it as you were talking, and then you just said personalization and targeting. And for me, they're just slightly different things. Personalization is what does Kelly want, and how do I speak to her, and how does she tell me what she wants? And targeting is I've got a bunch of women who are like Kelly, and I'm going to target them with something. Do you mean it somewhat differently? And if you agree, kind of where you are on the spectrum, do you think you'll be?
We're going to start with the groups. So it'll be the audience groups that we start with. And really where we're at today, we have started doing a little bit of that. Like I showed it, we started with like women overall. Well, there's a lot of, I mean, that's really hard to target, but within women, we can start to say, okay, there are a specific group of people who want more stylish product. There's another specific group that might want more comfort. So we're going to show them different things based on what we know about them. Eventually, we'd love to be able to get to an individual basis. We can definitely do things like a new consumer. So someone who's never been to our site gets an experience that's completely different than someone else. We also have a VIP, our Crocs club, and that's really where I would see us probably starting to do the individual, because we know so much more about those people that we can start to really specifically target those people individually.
How many people are in that?
About 2 million.
And what's that? Do you have a sense as to what that is of your total revenues?
I don't have total revenues of our customer base. I think they make up about 20% right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jennifer.